2022 was a challenging year for the life science industry, and now everyone is looking for that positive change. We have invited Jonas Ribbelöv, managing partner from Vator Securities, corporate finance firm based in Stockholm, to talk a little bit about the current financing climate, about international investors' sentiment toward the Nordics, and general trends in the market. Welcome, Jonas.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
So if we start with a general question, what are your key takeaways from 2022 in regards to the market climate right now?
It was a challenging year with transactions taking place, but clearly the average size per transaction has gone down considerably compared to previous years. I think it's down about 40 to 50%, which is what one would expect given the decline in market cap or perceived market cap for these companies. So it's from a dilution perspective. So those very much go hand in hand. And we're seeing that it takes a lot more time for the companies to complete their financing rounds due to the fact that the investors are more risk averse for obvious reasons.
So how will a company now with an imminent need for a capital injection, in your advice, how should they prepare before they contact Vator, for example, or one of your peers?
A strong recommendation to the companies is to act proactively. So do not wait too long to engage a corporate finance firm with advisory services, because the runway that we need to complete transaction is longer than before. And also before contacting us, make sure to gauge the level of insider participation from current investors, because that it's kind of a quality gauge for us as advisors, and also it details how big the hole in the book is. And then, it decides the scope for us in terms of how much we need to engage to compensate for if there is a lack of insider participation. And also, furthermore, I would encourage clients to think about value inflection points going forward, so that we can structure, and this will be our advice to them, so we can structure the process around these value inflection points going forward. So maybe we would propose that we would tranche the fundraising process and to have them centered around these value inflection points.
Would you say that there are specific trends when the small to mid-sized life science companies go out to raise capital in terms of transaction sizes or cost of capital, or the use of guarantors, for example, things like that?
Well, I mean, what we're seeing clearly, the cost of capital has increased, of course, due to the interest rate increases, and also the role for guarantors is more important than ever. And given the fact that the gauge of the risk averseness, the cost to engage the guarantors has increased. So I mean, right now within the life science scene, we're seeing a median guarantee fee of around 13 to 14%, which is, it's higher than before, which is, it's a gauge of the investor sentiment at the moment.
And what would your specific strategic advice be then to in terms of what key boxes do the company need to check in order to be successful in the capital raises at this point?
From our own experiences, it's very important to build a cap table, and that's a process which takes years to achieve. So you need to start out early in that, and so trying to identify the right type of investor at each growth stage is a key thing, key learning that we try to apply within Vator Securities for our clients. So that is very, very important. So, I mean, you don't want to have a prominent investor at the too early stage. So basically building from high net worth individuals, family offices, and gradually growing the company. So making the company eventually then institutionally viable, which is a function of market cap, of course. So it's that building blocks along the way to achieve the cap table over time.
Among some investors, there is perhaps an idea that it's really good to take in a very heavy institutional investor at an early stage, just to have a good name there. But according to you, that's not really the case then.
I think it could be hard to achieve, but also even if it's possible, maybe that is not the right route, because it's if you're achieving according to plan, that's fine. But often in early stage companies, you have delays, postponements. And there's more acceptance for that in type of family office, high net worth individuals, type of investors. So it's I think that is the type that you should be aiming for at an early stage.
So I guess in terms of having a strong investor early and then losing them, that would be a really, really bad sign for the company.
Yes, and we see that on several occasions, because then there's a long way back for the company to rebuild trust. So building this in stages, as I said, going from family offices, high net worth individuals, etc., moving up, it should be done very methodologically. So it's because if they back out, institutional investors, everyone's going to ask why, and it's going to be difficult to rebuild the cap table, which is a challenge, and we see it from time and time again.
Jonas, in your line of work, you speak with a lot of investors, and you recently hosted an international event, the Swiss Nordic Bio Conference, where, Nordic companies can meet international investors. From that experience, what would you say is the sentiment among international investors towards investing in Nordic or Swedish companies?
Both Nordic and Swedish companies, I think, are perceived as a hotspot within the life science scene, which is clearly evident here in Lund as well. So there is a large international interest for Nordic companies, and there is a long history of innovation in Sweden, which means like a company like ours can focus on a vertical of just life science as one of our verticals. Due to this significant interest. So we're seeing right now the number of transactions is continuing in 2023 at the same rate as in 2022. So even though maybe the transaction size has come down due to decrease in market cap, as I said before.
Do you think that the level of interest for Nordic or Swedish companies is the same as it has been, or has it changed in any way due to the market circumstances?
I think it's the same high level as before. There's always, in turbulent times, there's always a flight to quality. So of course, investors are looking for more of de-risked investment cases. So it's, as I said, flight to quality, which is a function of their risk sentiment at the moment.
And are there any specific trends then among the international investors in regards to what they are looking for with companies? Is it specific technologies or indications that are hotter than others and so on?
There's a clear trend right now in terms of artificial intelligence. So companies who are applying that to, for example, medtech devices with a coupled to artificial intelligence, that is perceived as being clearly a hotspot, and it's a gauge of the investor sentiment at the moment. So these companies are receiving quite a lot of attention at the moment.
AI is on everyone's lips these days.
Correct.
Yeah. So, to finish off, what would be your most concrete strategic advice then to a Swedish or Nordic company that seeks to attract international capital from European investors, for example?
I think it's what comes back to planning. So having a well-executed plan, a long-term plan for fundraising, and creating that around value inflection points for your company, and gauging, de-risking your business case, and working then on an equity story in a simple way to explain the virtues of your company towards investors. Planning ahead of time, that is clearly the most important, and building a cap table over time, which is an investment both for the management and the board, because it takes a lot of time to achieve that. But it is a necessity to achieve once in the future. Then once you've built market cap, when you can engage with the institutional capital.
So that's some really good strategic and concrete advice from Jonas here, to focus on your long-term planning, the inflection points, and also, of course, to build a sound cap table at an early stage. So thank you very much, Jonas, for joining us today.
Thank you.